Kiwi.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Game junkie, Gerard Campbell.
From stuff.co.nz in the technology section, there it is, Gerard Campbell, Game Junkie NZ on Twitter. Hello, Gerard.
Hello, Wammo.
Hello.
Good day.
Very good day indeed. Today we're talking about the Gears of War series, because Gears of War 3 is just about to be released, and players all around the world, including you and me, have been testing out the Gears of War 3 multiplayer beta on the Xbox 360.
Yes, we have.
And
to, I guess, varying degrees of success.
Yeah, depending on how much time you've invested in it. Now, the Gears of War 3 franchise has been around, basically since the Xbox 360 came out.
Yeah, it has, because I think, if my memory serves me correctly, the original Gears of War was about 2006.
Yeah.
And then Gears of War 2 must have been about 2009, I guess. And I think that, I think that the Gears of War series sort of has really evolved on the 360 as it had since it launched. You've got one argument saying, oh, well, it's just gruff space marines who, macho. And true, it is. I mean, it is to a certain extent. But, I think the Gears franchise brought some great things like, the cover mechanic and those sorts of things.
And what do you mean by the cover mechanic? Well,
you know how you can take cover behind an object and then jump over it and then next cover, so you can move from cover to cover, whereas, a lot of games in the past sort of didn't use that sort of game mechanic.
Yeah.
And I think that the series has progressed really well. I mean, I like Gears of War, the original, but I think Gears of War 2, the single-player campaign, played a lot better. So it'll be interesting to see how certainly the single-player campaign for me sort of works in Gears of War 3.
Yeah. What was interesting for me is because I picked up the original Gears of War nice and cheap, I think $10 down at the local game store or something. And I thought, 2006, that's a wee while ago. Who knows what it's going to look like? But I put it in the machine and booted up, and I was pleasantly surprised. It actually plays really well and graphically looked really good, but you put it up against the new Gears of War 3 beta, and you can see how far game development has come.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the thing. I mean, that's a good benchmark, isn't it? That you can take two games from the same series and then just see, obviously, the first thing you look at is graphically, how it's going to progress, and of course, they're using all different techniques. And of course, the Xbox 360 is sort of coming. Well, it's 5 years old now, so developers who started making games in the early days of the lifespan have had 5 years to sort of see what it does and really sort of push it to potential. So I'm saying now, the games that we're going to get now are really going to be pushing the console to its maximum limits, and I think we are going to get better, at least graphical experiences on the console now than we would have 5 years ago. Yeah.
So what were your impressions of the Gears of War 3 multiplayer beta? I think initially for me, what really stood out was the sporting elements to it. It almost felt like it was, you were part of a team, and it really was a tactical game, not so much a warfare simulator.
Yeah, well, I think I think you hit the nail on the head. I think for the Gears of War, and I don't play a lot of multiplayer, so I can't say whether it works for all the games, but I think the Gears of War teamwork really plays a big part. I think that if you go in as an individual and try and take on the opposing forces on your own, I think you are going to come unstuck. I think the key is that you've got to work together as a team. And I think with the game types like Capture the Leader and King of the Hill, you have to have capture and hold objectives and team deathmatch and those sort of things. I mean, they're good, solid multiplayer modes. You picked up on the sporting thing too. I mean, I think that sort of stuff. I mean, someone on when I did a preview, or sort of a bit of a review on stuff about the beta.
Yeah.
Somebody complained about, the maps are really small and this, but yes, they were small. I mean, the maps like Thrashball, which sort of took place in a, sort of a derelict American football stadium, was small. But I think personally, if you want to get a good, tight online sort of game. That's because, I mean, the Gears of War game is very fast.
Yeah.
It's very fast. I think that's going to be more achievable in a tight arena, one that's got tight confines, rather than, something that's massive and has a huge amount of room, because then you just could get lost looking for other players.
Yeah. Someone who wasn't familiar with the over-the-shoulder perspective said to me, well, they found that difficult. They're used to that first person, looking through the eyes of your character rather than over the shoulder. But I guess people who are familiar with the Gears of War series will have no problem with that. But how do you find the over-the-shoulder perspective?
I actually quite like that, because it gives you, I think I know a lot of players, or a lot of people are sort of prone to a bit of motion sickness, with that first person view.
Yeah.
So I think that having that over the shoulder third person view works really well for a series like Gears of War, because you do get a good overview of your environment. And I also think too that the roadie run that you can do, with the press of the A button, which sort of you see your player crouch down and sort of do a sprint.
Yeah.
That works really well in the third person, and I don't think that could have been achieved, if you'd done it as a first person game. But I mean, I think you're right. I mean, players that have played the Gears series are used to that. When you do your multiplayer, you're in the third person. Whereas, if you're playing Gears of War or Halo or all those other popular first person shooters, you are going to be from that first person viewpoint. So if you're not used to it, it is going to take a little bit of getting used to.
And one feature that I found quite fun was you can get shot, but if you're not completely dead, you could be slightly injured, and you can try and crawl back to your buddies, or get shot in the process. But if you crawl back, you can be revived by your teammates. I thought that was quite a fun addition.
Yeah, it is. There are some nice additions that I thought, that being able to, if you've got, and I think that this is where working as a team works really well together too, because if you're close enough to your teammates, then they can revive you. But also something else that I thought was a nice feature, and it really, it's a graphical feature too, but the fact that if you down an enemy, and they're not killed completely, you can actually go up and, with a button press, and you probably would have seen these, you can yank their arm off and you can whack them on the head, their arm.
Like a fatality.
Like a fatality, yeah, like you can curb stomp them and you can do whatever. And I think too, something that I found, it sounds a bit gruesome saying enjoyable, but doing the chainsaw bayonet kills are pretty cool. They're and this is a pretty graphic game when you come to these kills like that, but, chainsawing an enemy in half.
Yeah.
That's all part and parcel of what the Gears franchise is, and that's, the beta, multiplayer beta contained all those elements, that fans of the series love. They know that it's visceral and it's bloody, and that there's gibs and there's guts and there's blood everywhere, and I think that they've achieved, that. I mean, I've heard people who were disappointed with the multiplayer of Gears of War 2 actually saying, oh, well, I'm actually going to forgive them for Gears of War 2 multiplayer because, this beta actually worked really well and I really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to the full version of it when it comes out. I think it's out in September.
Okay.
So obviously the Epic who have made Gears of War have listened to the complaints that gamers had about some of the multiplayer of Gears of War 2, and they've tried to refine it a wee bit. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're never going to please everybody. There's always going to be, complaints about this or grizzles about that, But I think from my time with it, I enjoyed it and it was fun.
Well, if it's still got a few months before it comes out, then that's enough time for me to get through number 2, perhaps. Even though some people say it's not as good, I feel I do need to do that to be part of the story, probably, of Gears of War 3.
Yeah. Well, because I've just started replaying Gears of War 2 again as well. I think just to sort of get back into the theme and sort of just fill me back in the backstory. Because the last time I played it was 2009, so it's been 2 years. So it'd be nice just to sort of pony up and to sort of know what's going on again, really.
Excellent. Well, more can be found, of course, up at the stuff.co.nz Game Junkie blog in the technology section, and also on Twitter as well, twitter.com/GameJunkieNZ. Thanks, Gerard. See ya.
Thanks very much. See ya.